Hey, what's good, everybody? Welcome to another live session with the Hype Magazine. I'm your editor-in-chief, Jerry Dovey, and this afternoon, it is my distinct honor to be with the young lion. I call him young because you see, he still got black facial hair. I've got gray. He's a young lion to me, and he's taken on a monumental task along with a great team over at OWN and his wife. Is it 14? 14 still 14? Are you on 15 yet?
What's that?
15 years of marriage.
Oh man, yeah, we're at 14, man. 14
14,
and 14 and almost 14 and a half.
14 and a half. Yeah, get that in there. Give her credit.
That's right.
Uh, but anyway, so Jon and Mary, his wife Mary, of 14 years, are the lead designers and builders, I guess, for a new OWN mini-series, 6-part series called Rebuilding Black Wall Street. If you're not familiar with the Greenwood District and the historical nature of that name, coming from Tulsa, Oklahoma, shame on you. If you wear this uniform, go back, do your history. It is one of the most notorious massacres, racial massacres in the United States. Entire community burned down. I'm talking about from the rooter to the tutor. And recently, in some developments, they just found remains in a mass grave in the Tulsa area. So what is being done through the Black Wall Street project with Jon and his wife, Mary, is they're reaching out and have connected with survivors, direct survivors of the Black Wall Street massacre lineage. And they put some amazing things together. We're going to talk about it. It might get emotional. I can't promise that I'll be entirely editorially professional during this conversation. So there's your disclaimer ahead of time. Jon Pierre, it's an honor to have you.
Man, thank you for that. I appreciate you, Jerry. Thank you so much, man. I'm glad to be here.
Oh, my goodness, my goodness. This is a massive task. I'm happy that, we have some. I'm just going to say it, okay? I'm going to say it. It's my show. I can say it. I'm glad it's people in our uniform leading the charge as opposed to some outsiders taking us by the hand and making some stuff happen. Feel me?
Yes, sir.
All right. So, Jon Pierre, from the inside looking out, you're from Houston, a certified badass in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He's a collegiate level Division 1, 2, and 3 referee, and he loves custom woodwork projects. You have to love this stuff, this refurbishing and rebuilding stuff in order to do it. But it takes on a special meaning, this type of project. Talk to
Yeah.
me about Jon Pierre from the inside looking out and, maybe the benchmark moment that drove you to jump into this project.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, first of all, like you said, it's a story that needs to be told. So many people do not know about the history of the Tulsa Massacre and Greenwood and Black Wall Street. I think that having the opportunity to be a part of this is something that was extremely humbling and eye-opening, right? To know that the Tulsa Massacre decimated 600 businesses, 1,200 homes, over 300 people, and like you said, like you alluded to, many people have not found their relatives who were murdered in that massacre, right? So many people don't know the history of that. But what I love about this show is that it does delve into that history, but it also talks about what's happening now, and it talks about what's going to happen in the future and the stories of the people who are trying to rejuvenate and bring back what was once a thriving, unbelievable community, right?
People talking about what we can't do. I point to what we have done and,
Yeah.
what it cost us for being excellent. And I would go back and just dip into your description of yourself and strike the word humble, because we don't have to make anyone comfortable with our greatness and the work that we put in to it. We can be grateful.
Yeah.
But my brother, I'm looking at, you've earned everything and you put in the work. You put construct. Hey, you rappers gonna love this metaphor. Watch this, watch this, watch this, watch this. You put work clothes on your dreams and literally hit the construction sites and have been changing people's lives, not only your own, but other people's lives. Tell me, how did that transform you once you started getting started with this project?
Oh yeah, I mean, well, it's there's a huge amount of gratitude, like you said, humility to see people walking in their purpose and trying to create something that's bigger than themselves. And I think you'll get to see that in every single episode, right? You'll get to see people who are doing things to rebuild a community that are greater than themselves, and they're all taking their unique talents and abilities in a variety of ways. It's not all in the same field. It's not all in the same way, but all those things are extremely important when you're talking about bringing back a community, bringing back, what was once a very thriving community, and being able to see that take place in the original, Black Wall Street is a story that needs to be heard. And hopefully, as time goes on, it's replicated because, even though we're talking about the original Black Wall Street, there's plenty of underserved communities, African American communities that need to be rejuvenated, right? And so I hope this is the start of something bigger than than yourself.
Mm. Powerful as it is as an individual, applying your skill set to this type of project, you're doing it as a family unit.
Yeah.
You're serving other people's families as a family unit. Can you tell me, does that hold a special place for you? Bring any special thoughts as you and your wife work hand in hand to make this happen?
Oh yeah, I mean, we've always led with our heart. Like for us, it's um, renovating homes is not just about making something beautiful, right? It's about creating an environment that people can live and call their own, call it their home, make memories, do things that are important to them, right? And so going to Tulsa and going to Greenwood, going to Black Wall Street, it takes on an entirely different meaning because there's the history behind the reason you're trying to make something what it is,
Mm.
right? Whenever we step into a house, we don't necessarily know the 100-year history of a house. We know what the person at the moment wants and what is they're trying to create. And so I think that it's really cool that we got to see the history behind what's going on and what people are trying to create. And that definitely brings an entirely different set of feelings and emotions and meaning to the project.
I think it's beautiful. And I think it was really apropos that it started with a midwife.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're talking about the birth of a community and a birth of a movement that really spread across the nation because, although people got afraid, there were even more warriors who stood up and said, no, we can do it again.
Yeah. Yeah.
5 points in Colorado, Nicodemus in Kansas, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So was there anything that struck you as you guys were going through doing the birthing center with Montika? Was there any particular vision? What did you see?
Well, what we saw is what she was trying to create. I mean, like what she's trying to stop what is a local and national issue, which is infant and mother mortality rates, right? And so to have that as her purpose, she wants to stop something. She wants to make something better because those rates are so much higher for African American women and their babies than it is for others. And so to have that as her purpose and then to see it out, it's like to actually see what she's trying to create, how beautiful it is, how she's taking care of all the details. She's trying to make it a situation where people who would normally not be able to do something like that now have the ability to do so. And that's the start of something amazing, right? And so she took her birthing experience and said, man, I want to create that, not only what I had, but better than what I had for others. And that is a huge undertaking. I think that played out in the first episode, seeing how much it takes just to create what she's trying to do. And
Mhm.
so to be able to be a small part of that, and just put small pieces in there for her to help give her that vision, was just an amazing experience. It really was.
During that one, since we're talking about the birth, and we're going to go, I'm not going to take you through all 6 episodes, but some benchmarks,
Yeah,
especially when we're
absolutely.
talking about birth and the start and the rebuild.
Yeah.
As you were doing it and you were hearing the history of these things, how, with your mind and your receptors open and you having this blank canvas, what did history show you? What did the spirits of the ancestors kind of show you, like, this is a key component that might bring back a wave of some sort of memory for a person experiencing this new birthing center?
Yeah. So I mean, Montica was very helpful in telling us about the history. And so what I think it showed to me, and it is definitely about birthing center, but it's just in general, right? It's about the idea that there were those who had we had this, like, it existed, right? It already existed.
Right.
And that part of the story, that part of the history doesn't get told enough. And so to be in a space to say, it's like I said, earlier, that history was someone else's future, right? Like, whenever someone was doing whatever they were doing to start what we now tell as history, it was nothing. And then they made something, and that was their future,
Mm.
right? And so now to be in the space where we're looking at Montica's history, but it's her future, right? And so 100 years from now, someone's going to tell the story of Montica, and she doesn't know what that story is yet because she's still building it. But I know it exists
Right.
already.
Right.
And so to be a part of somewhat of the current future's history is amazing. And that's what I felt like I felt. I felt like we were in the midst of not knowing what the future was, but someone's going to be telling this history, right? That's what it felt like.
Were there any moments that gave you chills in particular as that phase of the project was going on?
Yeah, well, it's so interesting that we've done so many projects. We've been in the renovation business now for 8 years,
Right.
and so there's nothing about a project that is overwhelming to us because we've pretty much done anything in the residential area that is possible, right? What's chilling is the stories and the people behind what they're trying to create, right? When you talk to Montica, and I think this translates in the first episode, you see how passionate she is about what it is she's trying to do. In the next episode, when you talk to Rachel and you hear her story, you see how important it is for her to have this house that's been passed down to her from descendants of the Tulsa massacre. Like, that's what gives us the emotional tie, the emotional connection to it, is the people, right? And that's what I think the viewers are going to be able to tie into. The stories are like the construction is awesome, and I'm glad that's a part of it, and I'm glad we get to be a part of it. I think what's even better is the stories of how what it is they're doing is hard. It takes a lot of effort. They're going to find hurdles. They're going to be obstacles, yet they still find a way to continue on, right? And so many of us need that story because it's not the grand scale of what they're trying to create, but we all have those. We all have hurdles. We all have obstacles that we face every single day, and we need that extra push, that extra motivation, that extra inspiration. And I think this show will be that.
Okay. We're talking about OWN's Rebuilding Black Wall Street. Every Friday, it airs on OWN and then streams also on Max at 9 p.m. East Coast, people. Every Friday, new episodes, a 6-part series. Magnificent. This young couple, John and Mary, kicked off their joint. What we're talking about, the birth, so it's appropriate that we talk about 2016. You guys kicked off your successful family-owned business, Harper Raine Homes
Homes, yep.
LLC. You're out of Houston originally. Now Houston is I have a fond memory of Houston, having discovered red velvet cake while in Houston. Y'all laugh at me, Jack, but I lost my mind and I thought, this is the only city I can get. I'm not moving. I got a house, started a business back on Beltway
Okay.
8, back in Studewood. And
Okay.
yeah, man, I was like, Houston is it. Red Velvet Cake. Then I don't know if they're still around, but there was a catering place called Howard Johnson's
Hmm.
up around Greenbrier area, right? Up
Okay.
around Greenspoint.
Greenspoint. Yeah.
Yeah, up around Greenspoint. And it was built like a house. They had the old purple and yellow Howard Johnson's colors for the old hotel, right? But this is
Yeah.
a house. They served me so much food on that damn platter, I almost killed myself. You know, I literally was eating so fast, I almost choked on the collard greens.
How about to say, there's some good soul food spots out here, man.
Brother,
You can lose yourself out here.
on a platter, they served it. So amazing story, you know. And then here you are, 14 years later, wrapped up in a massively important project that people are going to
Yeah.
get to see incrementally. I'm leaning forward because having watched the trailer with Morris Chestnut, shout out to Morris Chestnut, iconic voice and face.
Absolutely.
But he ain't doing the hard work. Does he get in there and turn a wrench, turn a screwdriver, use a drill, hammer, anything, or is he just using his voice and his face?
Well, I mean, I think that's, but I don't think he's going to be turning any hammers, but I do think it's important because so much of what's the way that we get these kind of stories out is through the help of people on his level,
Right,
right?
right.
And so sometimes that's just what it takes. It takes someone of his stature who is very well known. His voice is very soothing, and people do like to hear his voice. And so to be able to have him as the headliner on this is a huge part of the story because he will bring eyes. And if there's anything that needs to be taken away from this is that this is a story that needs to be told. We've heard about the history, well, not everybody, but I will say that the history of you know Greenwood and Black Wall Street has been told. Um, the future of Black Wall Street has not been told.
There it
And
is.
so, right. And so, if Morris Chestnut's face and his name can bring a spotlight to the future of not just Black Wall Street, but all underserved communities that need to be attended to across the country, man, my gosh, it's a blessing to have him, right? And
Mhm.
so I'm glad that he's a part of this project.
Okay, okay. Look, building something from scratch obviously brings one wave of emotions, and something as historical as this. By the way, there's a Greenwood Foundation. Get your Greenwood card. I'm just saying, not a shield, they're not a sponsor, but it's another way to be a part of this massive movement that
Undertaking, yeah.
Jon Pierre and Mary, are the face of. So, as I was saying, building something from scratch brings one set of emotions. But in episode 2, you're working with a descendant, Rachel Walker.
Yeah, yeah.
And you're actually working to preserve a standing structure from that period. Talk to
Yes.
me about that experience and maybe the emotions and the connection that you made during that segment.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I think one of the problems that we have across the country is gentrification of these older neighborhoods, right? And when that takes place, generally speaking, the people who own the homes sell and they move out, and then it gets regentrified, and then because property taxes raise and the values of the houses go up, those who are trying to stay then eventually can't afford to stay because it costs too much, right? So this is a great story for Rachel because there's a nonprofit called the 1256 movement who is trying to give grants to those who are descendants and do own homes where they can renovate their property and still stay in the house, right? And that's a huge part. That's the difference between regentrifying an area and just renovating an area, trying to give those who are there the opportunity to stay and live in a nice home. And so Rachel's story is fantastic. This house was passed down to her, and now she's trying to keep it, save it, and make it a space for her and her daughter. And so again, to be a part of that story, to hear her story, to see the effort that she's put in, and she has put in tremendous amounts of efforts on her own just to make sure that house is functional and usable. And so now to see the 1256 movement step in give her a grant to be able to, renovate her kitchen and get some new flooring in. It's a really cool spot to be able to see it happen and be a part of it.
Was there any memorabilia or photos or anything that really struck you as you guys were like putting the design? Any memories that were
Yeah,
available for you to just go, wow?
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, her I think it was her grandfather uh is actually his name is on one of the streets. So she walked us over to see that. And
Okay.
that was amazing, right? And then I'm a big fan of old pictures. I love old pictures. I feel like they tell the stories that we never get to hear. Um, and so she told us stories of her family, and that was really cool, man. It's just I love the history of people. I love the history because there's a sense of self and there's a sense of wholeness when you give people an opportunity to tell their stories. And so I really identify with her and what she's been doing in terms of her getting on her hands and knees and trying to figure out how to solve problems around her house and then be able to step in and help her so that she doesn't have to do all those kind of crazy things. And so it's a great story. And so I really identify with those parts of what she has going on.
Logistically, and I know that we're seeing everything in encapsulated moments, an hour,
Yeah.
hour and a half, right? What may I know the are we allowed? Is it a trade secret to know the actual kind of timeline from start to finish? Are you spending 6 to 8 weeks immersed with
Mhm.
these people on a daily basis, or how does that actually flow? If we can know.
Yeah, yeah. It's a great question. Yeah. So I think it was over the course of about 4 months that we were there. And I was there for as short as 3 or 4 days to as long as 2 weeks, working on things. And so again, it's cool to see it. Like, as time went on, I just felt more and more like I was part of it. And the more I felt a part of it, the more I wanted to do. And so it was great. The reveals are awesome because you really get to see what everyone has been trying to pour their heart and soul into. And those are really emotional moments. And I'm grateful for those because those were awesome.
During the time, and thank you for sharing the story about her grandfather being honored with a street. uh
Yeah.
was there another like human engagement moment during this process that just made
Mhm.
you stop and go, wow? Maybe made your allergies kick up just a little bit.
Yeah, no, yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I think we'll get to see, I think it's towards the end. Um, we get to meet a guy named Lael Alexander, who is an unbelievable person. I can't wait for people to hear his story,
Mhm.
how much he means to every single person on the planet, literally.
Mm.
And he's there trying to be a part. He is a person who has the ability, the resources, the knowledge, the technology to help those who are trying to help the community individually. And so there's a great moment towards the end. I don't want to give too much away, but let's just say the allergies were all over the place for that one. So I think everyone will be having some problems with the pollen count when they watch that episode.
Okay. All right. We've talked about the birth. We've talked about the maintenance. And now finally we talk about the return, one of the other episodes. And we only have a few minutes. I have to respect your time. And I
Yes,
appreciate
sir.
the time that you've given me. But the return to society, the transition home that you participated with. Uh,
Yeah,
so we've got Black women who are affected by a higher than usual mortality rate during birth, who have we have a birthing system to assist people through that. That's a metaphor. Yeah. We have the maintenance, the holding up of the culture that's already been established, the rebuttressing of an edifice, so to speak,
yeah,
that represents that time. And then we have a return, the systemic issues that we have with our justice system have taken people away. You have to come
yeah,
back, and it's hard to, even if you're a felony, to get a place to live. you know,
All those things.
all those
Yep.
things that are mandatory. It's a vicious circle, right? You got to have a place
Yep.
to live, you got to have a job. If not, what we do, we send you on back, take you.
Right.
It's another form of mastery. Talk to me about working on that, and then we'll close out with maybe your greatest takeaway and what is one of the most important things for you. But let's talk about the transition center and segue into the other piece.
Yeah. So that's the story of Demaria, and you know, she has an inspiring story. Can't wait for you guys to hear that. But what she's trying to do is give formerly incarcerated women opportunity, and that's really what it is. And so she's building transition homes. You know, a lot of times when women are coming out of the incarceration system, the halfway homes that are provided aren't really great places to be. And so she has experience with that, and so she's trying to take that experience and make it something different for others. So we help her try to get her property up and running so that she can give women a space. She also runs a nonprofit where she employs women, and she gives jobs to those who are coming out of the system. And then we also help her kind of put a little salon together so those who have talents can then bring in clients and make money on their own by doing hair. And so she's kind of covering all the bases as you alluded to: housing, jobs, and opportunity. And so I think that story is one that needs to be told. And again, I think that's something that can be replicated around the country because it is a problem that needs to be addressed. And so she's doing a fantastic job of doing so.
All right. The series is called Rebuilding Black Wall Street. It's on OWN every Friday, 9 p.m. East Coast, and then streaming right there on Max. It is an amazing story of transition. I'm so happy and honored to have met you. Thank you for what you're doing. Jon Pierre and his wife, Mary, lead designers and build managers on the OWN series, Rebuilding Black Wall Street. Okay, one more time, I'm gonna give him his little props. Okay. Narrated by Morris Chestnut. And it's an outstanding, heart-wrenching story from history, but this is a beautiful rebuilding. And you know, they basically had a brand new canvas, blank canvas to paint what everyone wanted to, and the masterpieces are coming. On Fridays, 9 p.m. East Coast, Rebuilding Black Wall Street. Not saying his name again, but Jon Pierre and Mary put it down, and we have a great narrator who shall remain nameless in this particular moment as my jealousy kicks in. I told you I wasn't going to be all the way professional, but very important story. Thank you for what you've done. You know, you, Mary, as the full-time company designer. The company is called Harper Raine Homes, LLC. They started in Houston, but they're obviously available for national projects, and you should check them out. Black owned, make it mean something.
I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Had a great time.
Have a good one, right? Bye-bye.
Peace.
As an artist, we should reflect the time.
Why you so talented?
Cause I'm black.
Why you so amazing?
Cause I'm black.
It's really important that we build characters so that people understand their story matters.
2 Chainz and I both are just really into good food.
And when you know you are royalty, you will only aim in life to be royalty.
We're doing it right now. I don't give a damn what they say about me. Yes, I called your ass out. I know I shouldn't be saying this kind of.
Shout out to Hype Magazine Network.
Shout out to the Hype Magazine Network.